Alldus podcast is brought to you by Alldus International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our AI in Action series, where leading minds in AI from across the world share their story, success, and advice. AI in Action cuts through the hype and explores the true impact of artificial intelligence in our world today.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is Adam Wenchel. Adam is the founder and CEO at Arthur AI. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thanks, JP. Appreciate you having me on.
It's our pleasure. So, Adam, let's start with yourself. Can you give us a brief background of your journey in technology, from where you got started, some of the roles you've held along the way, taking us up to just before you founded Arthur?
Yeah, absolutely. So you started my computer science journey actually programming video games as a kid on one of my dad's friends' computers. And then when it ended up majoring in computer science in college, I followed one of my professors over to DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, aka the people who invented the internet. And this was, I graduated in '99, and so worked there for a couple of years on a couple early AI projects. Back when it was all a big science project, and it really didn't work that well, but I was still pretty excited about the potential. And from there, ended up going into getting stuck in the startup world and the tech world, and used AI and kind of machine learning techniques intermixed with other technologies along the way. And really started to get back into machine learning as a primary focus about 8 or 9 years ago, when there was this confluence of big data and GPU hardware and better algorithms and developer tools all coming together to really increase the effectiveness of it. And along the way, my last company I started, which was called Annex, was acquired. We were using machine learning to identify malware families for cybersecurity, and we were acquired by Capital One. And so we joined the Capital One team, and shortly after we joined, the CEO and the CIO asked me to start Capital One's AI team. This was in early 2016. And so even though I've been doing AI for a while, that was the kind of a new scale for me to be operating at. Capital One has many customers, and you're doing things that not only affect millions of dollars in business revenue, but also the financial lives and livelihoods of many different people. And it really got me focused on a lot of the issues around how do you make sure that your AI is performing well, that it's performing well for your business, but also for the end users it's affecting, and that it's doing so in a way that is as transparent as needed and is free from any kind of unwanted bias. And we all know that bias is a long-time historical problem, and it can very easily get automated with the advent of machine learning, and then you just scale your bias. These are all issues that I spent a lot of time thinking about and working on. Gave some early talks at some conferences that generating a lot of attention, covered by Wall Street Journal and other publications early in 2016 and 2017. And this kind of led me to really having a lot of interesting conversations with a number of people about these topics, and other people who were also implementing AI at scale, and regulators who were thinking about how to make sure that companies were doing this in a way that really served the public good. And back that time in 2016, 2017, 2018, there really weren't tools around to help with this sort of observability in AI. And just in talking to people, it became really clear that there was a need for tools like this in the marketplace that can let you know when you're deploying AI models into production that they're doing what you want them to do in the way you want them to do it. And so I left Capital One in the middle of 2018 to start Arthur, and we really got cranking in October 2018.
Amazing. And thank you for sharing the background. I think people who are listening who are familiar with Capital One will know that it's really well regarded for its data science and AI division. And obviously you being at the helm of that really speaks to your background. But you gave, in that journey, talking about what you learned and what you've done, you sort of gave some insight into the idea behind Arthur. So why don't you tell us all about Arthur? What was the mission of the business? What was the idea? And then we can talk about the actual journey over the past 3 years.
Yeah, so with Arthur, what we're trying to do is just give people a pragmatic set of tools to deploy AI with confidence, right? Put it into production against real world use cases that are high leverage, business critical use cases in a way that you're properly managing the risks. You can know what it's doing, you can improve it over time, and you have that kind of feedback loop that you need to be effective. And there's a number of ways to think about it. You can think about it like application performance monitoring for data science, like a New Relic or an App Dynamics or a Datadog. Another way to think about it is if you think about the way large organizations run their security operations center, they have a number of different security products running out there, from endpoint protection to firewalls to email filters. But at the end of the day, all that data comes back to one operational console, typically like a Splunk or a Sumo Logic or an ArcSight. And that's where there's an operations practice built around it so that you make sure that things aren't slipping through the cracks, that you're not accidentally have some problem that you don't find out about it until it's much too late. And so we do a lot for data science teams, a very similar thing for data science teams, which is as you're deploying models, let's say in financial services for credit decisioning or fraud or anti-money laundering, and you have these models running all over the organization, or in healthcare, whether it's predictive intervention for medical issues or policy servicing or customer servicing, that you have these models that end up proliferating all over your organization. And a lot of times they're running on all sorts of different technology stacks. So open source and cloud providers as commercial. And it's okay to have that really heterogeneous mix of AI environments. But at the end of the day, the one thing you want standardized is that kind of monitoring, oversight, and governance, just to make sure that things aren't slipping through the cracks and that everything's running the way you want it to run. And you understand the impact these models are having on your business.
So obviously a very complex problem that you're trying to tackle, which it exists in many forms. Talk us through the journey from the idea of, okay, I'm seeing a niche here, I'm seeing an increased demand, I've built up a level of expertise myself. I think there's a viable business model here. And talk us from that point to the journey of building the startup, how you've gone about taking it from demo models and getting it implemented in customers.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the early days, I left Capital One in, I believe it was July of 2018, and took a couple months, did some traveling, hung out with the kids, and took a little bit of time. I wouldn't say fully off, but partly off. But I was also out just talking to people out there who I knew who were at the forefront of the AI transformation push that we see all over the place now. And talking about were they seeing the same needs? And out of those conversations, we were fortunate that pretty quickly an initial set of clients emerged, and those clients were pretty excited about the idea and about the ideas we were working on, and so agreed to partner with us. And as part of that, we built out the initial version of our product using them as a test bed. And so it was a pretty good set of projects, everything from the United States Air Force to one of Harvard University's research divisions to a couple tech startups that we worked with. And so it really gave us this diverse set of clients that allowed us to build out the platform that really we were sure had broad applicability and interest. And pretty quickly, over about 6 months, we had a really nice prototype that was running in the real world. And from there, we went out and said, all right, there's something here. Without much effort, we were able to get a handful of customers using it. And it's clear that they were experiencing some pain that we were able to have. And so from there, we went out and to raise a little bit of money for a seed investment, and kind of had some funny conversations with investors where we showed them what we had done. And we had the prototype and it was running in the real world, and got a lot of surprise that, hey, this isn't just a deck. You guys actually have a functioning product that works and people are using. And we were able to be very intentional about who we worked with in our seed round, which was exciting. So here on the East Coast, Workbench Ventures, and on the West Coast, Homebrew and Index Ventures, which was just a great dream team there. And then once we raised the money, we said, all right, now we actually have to build this out for real, go from a prototype to something that's actually more enterprise grade and production ready. And so we spent the rest of 2019 working on that and building up the team. And then in 2020, started going out and having more customer conversations, which of course was an interesting year to really kick off a lot of go-to-market activity, given that the beginning of COVID and everyone initially circling the wagons a bit around that. And what we got when we found out is just that when we got out there, we found out was just that there's just a ton of interest in people are struggling with how to their initial experiments in AI have now turned into an increasing number of models that are out there. And especially if you're dealing with anything that's mission critical or anything that's regulated or anything that just speaks to that really speaks to your brand, you really need to have these sorts of guardrails in place so that you can be confident and really reap the benefits of AI. And so in 2020, we really saw towards the end of 2020, the market really accelerate our traction and the interest in what we're doing. And so we went out and raised a Series A led by Index, but also with participation from Acrew and Plexo Capital. And then we've really since then, in the last 8 or 9 months since then, really been focused on, again, scaling out for the first time our go-to-market teams, but also really always hiring kind of engineers and machine learning professionals, which are really the core of our team.
You are listening to the Alldus Podcast. When you're looking to scale your team, or if you are interested in showcasing your company in a future episode, reach out today. Or if you're in the market for a new role, visit our website to view open positions, www.alldus.com.
So staying on the topic of the team, I think it would be great to get some insight into what it's like behind the scenes now, how you're actually getting the product implemented in various customers. What is a typical use case from first contact to actual execution, and then the results that follow with that? What's the data science, the machine learning behind it doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a number of large clients as well as a number of small ones. For the large clients, really like Fortune 100 types, they want someone who's a close partner, right? And so in addition to deploying our platform in their environment and allowing them to instrument all their models and use our console to really make sure everything's operating well, we oftentimes will help them, work with them to make sure that they have the right approach to thinking about performance and the right approach to thinking about bias in these models. And they're leveraging explainability, not just as a compliance tool, but as a way to make the predictions of these models more actionable. And if you can tell someone who's on the receiving end of a model's prediction, not just what the model predicted, but why, it really can create just more powerful usage of that model. And so that's something those are all things we're really passionate about. We also have customers who just want the API key and want to ask a couple of questions and then be on their way, and that's fine too. I think we really enjoy kind of partnering with our customers to help inform their whole AI strategy and really use us as like their ML ops console that they center a lot of their operational ML practices around.
So you mentioned there that the growth has been pretty steady and significant and through COVID with the timing of you taking the product to market. And now that we're starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel and you're looking ahead for 2022 and beyond, what are you most excited about? Where do you expect the business to be in another 2 years from now?
Yeah, things are just getting, in terms of interest and traction, things are accelerating every day. It's pretty amazing. And a lot of the interesting is COVID actually, in a lot of ways, created more demand for us. Things like digital servicing of customers and telemedicine, which had been like slowly gaining adoption, all of a sudden became super important overnight. And so people's like digital transformation and all the initiatives they've been working on all of a sudden went to their front and center, their top priority. In many ways, what we're seeing now is just this real acceleration in the use of AI. And then because of a number of factors, the result of several years worth of investment from companies starting to pay dividends, as well as things like COVID really accelerating people's digital transformation plans. So I think for the next year or two, we're just in full growth mode right now and doing a lot of hiring and making sure we have just a world-class team to tackle these problems, which are one of the things that we're big on. Is we just think that we place a real importance on kind of innovation and developing new tech to tackle some of these problems, because some of these problems are new, and we think that to really address them effectively, a lot of current techniques are insufficient. We've, from the early days, had a really strong R&D team that works with our platform team to make sure that there are appropriate techniques for things like data drift for computer vision or bias mitigation, automated bias mitigation for a wide range of circumstances. Or we have some really neat technology around counterfactual explanations. And these are all like new techniques that we've developed that actually create a lot of value with our customers. And so we're really proud of that. And I think that continuing to make those kind of investments is going to be really important for us as we grow.
Final question from me then, Adam. You've already built an incredible product with an amazing team in such a short space of time, and you've done so in an incredibly challenging market where talent is scarce and in high demand. When you're speaking to candidates about the mission at Arthur, what is it that you tell them that gets them excited about Arthur over some of the other great opportunities currently available?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what gets people excited is you certainly read there's plenty of headlines and press around what can happen, the kind of concerns around AI and bias and lack of transparency. And so working at Arthur is a chance to actually do something pragmatic about it at scale. And we have customers who are using AI for healthcare. So one of our early customers was Humana. They've been phenomenal partners, and they've got millions and millions of people that they provide healthcare for. And then we also have one of the largest employers on the planet. We have extremely large financial institutions. And going into those companies that are operating at a huge scale and really working with them to make sure that they're implementing AI in a way that's responsible both for their business and the people they're serving is a pretty awesome opportunity. And we see like the impact we're having all the time with these companies. And I think those are the stories that really just gets the team excited and get us all going and make us excited to show up to work every morning, because you're not going to solve like societal problems like bias or things like that overnight, but the opportunity to really constantly and continually nudge them in the right direction is a really good.
Adam, thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us. This one's been a long time coming. I appreciate the fact that we're finally able to get you on the show. What you're doing at Arthur is remarkable. It's truly exciting and something that needs to be alive and well in all businesses at all sizes as soon as possible. So we wish you, the team, and everyone at Arthur all the best on the journey ahead.
Hey, I appreciate it, JP. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Alldus Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.alldus.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.